My name is Sandor Katz, and I call myself a fermentation revivalist. I live in the United States. I'm talking to you from my kitchen in Tennessee. And I would like to talk to you about fermented foods and how the process of fermentation, microbial transformation, changes foods. Fermentation is practiced in every part of the world, and anything we could possibly eat can be fermented. What the science of microbiology has illuminated is that all of the plants and all of the animal products that make up our food are populated by microorganisms, never just one singular microorganism, always elaborate communities of microorganisms. So the big question in fermentation is which of these organisms are going to develop. And in culinary traditions in every part of the world, people have developed techniques for guiding the development of microorganisms so that rather than our food decomposing into something disgusting that nobody would ever put into their mouths, we always derive some practical benefit from fermentation. Fermentation creates extraordinary flavors, and gourmet food shops everywhere in the world are full of products of fermentation. Alcohol is produced by fermentation. Many foods become more stable, preserved by the power of fermentation. Fermentation can also make foods more easily digestible. They can make nutrients available that would not be otherwise available to us. Fermentation removes toxins from certain foods and produces bacteria that we call probiotic because they confer a benefit on the people who eat them. Let me focus on the health benefits of fermented foods. And fermented foods are incredibly varied, and it's a little bit hard to generalize because kimchi does not have the same qualities as bread, and bread does not have the same qualities as salami, and salami does not have the same qualities as vinegar. But there are some very clear patterns to the ways that foods are transformed by the process of fermentation, microbial transformation. The first way that foods are transformed, I would describe as pre-digestion. This is the simple idea that, as microorganisms are digesting nutrients, they're breaking them down into simpler forms. For instance, the protein of soybeans gets broken down into amino acids, which become much more accessible to us. The lactose in milk that so many people have a hard time digesting gets broken down into lactic acid. The minerals in grains are often locked in chemical bonds that our bodies can't break down, but fermentation breaks down these chemical bonds and makes the minerals more accessible to us. Then toxins are often removed from foods. And this is really the same idea as pre-digestion, except that instead of nutrients getting broken down into simpler forms that we can more easily access, potentially toxic compounds get broken down into harmless forms. So for instance, cyanide in cassava grown in certain regions of the world breaks down and as a result of the fermentation, an otherwise toxic food becomes safe to eat. Fermentation also generates additional nutrients. So all kinds of foods have unique micronutrients. Sauerkraut, kimchi, and other fermented vegetables have compounds called isothiocyanates, which are regarded as anti-carcinogenic. The Japanese soy ferment natto has a compound called natto kinase, as well as extraordinarily high levels of vitamin K2, which are generated by the fermentation. Almost all fermented foods have elevated levels of B vitamins. But perhaps the most profound benefit of fermented foods are the bacteria themselves, which we call probiotic. And not all fermented foods have living bacteria in them. Certain foods have been cooked or heat processed before we eat them, and so the bacteria that were present in them perish during the cooking. But certain fermented foods, can be eaten and enjoyed without cooking. So yogurt, sauerkraut, many different kinds of foods and beverages have these kinds of probiotic qualities, which essentially can help to restore biodiversity in the gut. And science has been learning so much about the importance of the bacteria in our intestines for our health and well-being. And eating these kinds of foods can increase biodiversity, improve digestion, improve overall immune function, and potentially improve many other aspects of our physiology and functionality. Thank you.